Good evening. My name is Adam Nelson, and I'm going to give a speech tonight for criminology at Seminole State College. My topic is going to be on genetics and crime. The relationship between genetics and criminal behavior, essentially. So, the basics. The basics of genetics and behavior. DNA is inherited from our parents, which can influence physical traits, hair color, eyes, facial features. I mean, my daughters look exactly like me. And it can potentially cause or affect their behavior. Now, I don't know if that's 100% because of genetics or if that's just because you're raising your children. They're going to act like you do. It's a bit of both, and I guess that's a topic of discussion while researching genetics. And genes can influence predispositions, but they in no way determine destiny. So, in layman's terms, if a person is a criminal or they lived a life of crime, they have children, does not necessarily mean that their children are going to grow up to be criminals. Now, in a lot of cases, depending on the environment that you grow up in, it's the culture. That's all that your children are going to see, and that's all they're going to know, and that's the only way that they understand that you make a living. I deal with that a lot as a police officer. Genetic studies related to crime, there are specific markers and genes suggested in research related to aggression or impulsivity. This is also known as the warrior gene. Now, in the military, you're typically going to have your more aggressive guys in the infantry. That's just how it's always been. That's how it always has been. And a lot of us, after our deployments, we have to go talk to psychologists. And I've heard this phrase several times about the warrior gene. Living a life like that, totally going off of away from my speech for a second, but referencing that, like in wartime, I deployed several times, and it's people that can cope with those things or exposed to certain things that happen in war have the how it was explained to me, that warrior gene, to where we are prepared to take on these things. And it's not in everybody, and we are moderately affected by such things. Anyway, totally digress. Most studies agree, and I'm reading from my notes right now. I have a bunch of notes that I took. Most studies agree that genetics might increase risk factors, but do not cause crime in a direct deterministic way. So if you have, just for instance, if a football player has a child, or a bodybuilder or a large human being has children, there's a good possibility these children are going to be large. And if they're football players, or if they play hockey or anything like this, they're going to grow up to be just like their father and have that aggression. And I'm not even necessarily saying that that's 100% related to genetics, but and more so related to being raised in that manner. That makes sense. People with a diminished mental capacity, they have a dysfunctional brain, anything like that. Just for instance, environmental factors and gene environment interactions. So some things that have to be taken into consideration whenever talking about why genes or predisposition as far as going to commit crime. You have to look at the environment that people are raised in. I touched on it a moment ago. Do they come from poverty? What's the family background, education level, and the social influences? And what I see a lot with our inner city stuff is that these kids don't really have much. They're not really properly raised. I mean, that's my opinion. But when they think that rap songs are the gospel, or things that they see on YouTube or Instagram or real life, and how those people get it, they steal, they sell drugs, they commit criminal acts because they see that as it's okay, and there's the environment they live in, there's nobody to tell them otherwise. um, and then we have to deal with them. And a lot of times with our youth, we really do try to communicate with them on a different level. We try to spend as much time we can with them and influence them. But uh, I don't think it's necessarily a genetics thing. I think that it comes down to the social environment that they live in, and what just what they're willing to invest and pay attention to, and the things that are easy money, and this is how you have to be raised, you have to be a part of a gang, and all this nonsense is just that's the most appealing thing to them. So that's what they're going to flourish to. And from what I've read, I don't necessarily believe that genetics influence that. That's more just an environmental portion of it. As far as the genetics go, if they do have some sort of deteriorated mental capacity, or they're unable to comprehend certain things, it just takes a little bit of influence to get somebody to do something you want them to do whenever they don't fully understand what they're doing. Or if they think what they're doing is right, then they'll do it because they believe that it's right. What are the ethical and social implications? They have free will. They have free will to make these decisions to commit crimes or not make crimes. In most cases, responsibility. There's a lack of responsibility. There's no accountability. If people don't have something to work for, then they're going to try to find the easy way out. There's no honor or integrity involved in it. If that's never part of the thought process, then they're going to make these rash decisions that don't make sense to anybody else. The justice system. In areas that are more high crime than not, the justice system, I don't even want to fully get into explaining the justice system, but it is very, very misunderstood. And I don't believe that it is properly implemented in a lot of situations. And if you're dealing with somebody that has a deteriorated mental capacity, or don't fully understand, or maybe it's a genetic thing, maybe they have they have a dysfunctional brain, they're not going to fully comprehend their actions, or think about what they're doing right now, how it's going to affect others. That's not part of the thought process, and I'm only speaking from my experience. But not every situation is exactly the same, and there's a danger in putting a stigmatization or discriminating against anybody for any reason. Now, if you label a certain group of people a certain way, it's not going to do anything except for have an adverse effect. And, they're going to lash out. They're going to do these things and more than likely end up committing some sort of crime. Everybody deserves a fair shake, and across the board, not because of their parent or who their parents are, or their family background, or, whatever their economic status is. Everybody deserves the same opportunity as everybody else, no matter what. That's our God-given right, and Constitution protects it all. In conclusion, coming to an ending, genetics can offer insight, but do not determine criminality. So, that being said, I believe that if we have maintain a well-balanced perspective, and considering both biology and social content, hopefully someday, through advances in technology and genetics research, combined with social reform, we can reduce crime and improve the justice system. Getting a full understanding of why people make the decisions that they make, or maybe even through genetics. I don't see it being possible, but technology is pretty crazy. Being able to see if that person if they have the capability, to murder somebody, or to be violent, whatever the situation is. If we can do enough research and have enough development in the technology, if we are able to pinpoint certain characteristics in somebody's genetic makeup that would have warned us, then, that would be a huge benefit and ultimately save lives. The end. Thank you for listening.